Hi y'all, we're going to go ahead and get started with our lesson 2.1. Here we are going to be talking about evaluating functions. Now before we start this lesson, I need to make sure that you have access to the EOC calculator that we're going to be using in class. So for this, you're going to need to head over to your Canvas page for our class. When you get there, I want you to click on modules. Now when you're on modules, on the top of the page there, you're going to see course overview, TI-30, that's our calculator that does fractions that we use in class, and then the EOC calculator. The EOC calculator is the one that we're going to be using throughout this module. All right, so you may want to bookmark that so you have quick, easy access to it. So again, this is the one that we're going to use. What I like about this calculator is I can actually type in a whole equation here, and it'll give me my answer on the right-hand side. All right, so we're going to be doing that with a lot of these problems today. So here we go, and let's go ahead and get started with some practice problems. So right up here, they say evaluate the expression 2x minus 3. So instead of x, we're going to replace that x with an open set of parentheses. Now, in that set of parentheses, I'm going to substitute in whatever they tell me x equals. So they're saying x equals 0. So we're going to go ahead and put 0 here. So 2 times 0 minus 3 gives me negative 3. Now, if we're using the calculator, we're going to type in exactly what we see here. So we're going to type in, on the left side here, I have the calculator, 2 parentheses, 0, close parentheses, minus 3. And my answer is negative 3. So for the next example, for example B, they want us to substitute in negative 3. So I have 2 times negative 3 minus 3. Now, we can go ahead here on the calculator. We can hit clear, and we can type that in all over again. So 2 minus 3, close parentheses. 2 times negative 3 minus 3, and our solution is negative 9. Well, since we're doing the same equation this third time, but now all we're substituting in is 0.5, you don't actually have to clear the entire equation. You can actually just take your cursor right over to what's in the parentheses, delete negative 3, and in place of that, put 0.5 for substitution. So now we have that equals negative 2. All right, so this calculator actually is really handy when it comes to typing in an entire expression. All right, let's go ahead and clear that because we are done with that equation. These are some of the calculator tools that we're going to be using. Our learning target today is to be able to evaluate a function for an input in its domain. The input would be what is the x values, and then our output is our y values. Now, we've looked at equations. Let's just look at one. If I have y equals mx plus b. Very general formula that you guys are comfortable with, that you know. Well, instead of y, now they're going to write it in what's called function notation. So it's going to be f of x equals mx plus b. Well, if we had a bunch of numbers here, the y value is just our solution. So this we don't put into the calculator, right? So that's just the solution. But when we have numbers for mx plus b, that we put into the calculator. So when you're thinking about something that has f of x, like I have here on example 1, f of x is just the name of the function. What is after the equal sign, what f of x is equal to or equivalent to, that's what we are going to put into our calculator. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this then. So anywhere that you see an x, anywhere that you see an x, we're going to replace that with parentheses. So we are going to have f of x is equal to 3 minus 2 times x. Now this time, we're going to substitute in negative 1. So I substitute in negative 1, substitute in negative 1. Now, remember, the right side of this expression here, is what we're substituting into the calculator. So we have 3 minus 2 parentheses, negative 1, close parentheses, and the output, or the f of x value, is 5. So when we plug 1, when we substitute negative 1 into the function, we get 5. Now let's go ahead and do that again. So we have f of x is equal to 3 minus 2 times x. And this time our x value is 0. So what is our solution when we substitute in 0? So I'm going back to the calculator, and inside the parentheses where there's negative 1, I'm going to erase that negative 1 and put a 0 in there instead. And our output, our solution, is going to be 3. Okay? All right, so let's do that a third time. F of x is equal to 3 minus 2x. This time our x value is 2. So 3 minus 2 times 2. And our solution is negative 1. All right, the final time that we do this, f of x is equal to 3 minus 2 times x. Now our x is 15. Now keep in mind that every time, that's all we're plugging in there. It's all we're placing in the calculator. So we have 3 minus 2 times 15 gives me negative 27. All right, so now I've got to check your understanding 1. Okay, let's go ahead and look at that problem. Now, on this problem here, I want you doing the same thing that I did on example 1. Now, keep in mind that the only thing we're putting in the calculator is 2x minus 1. Okay? So here, wherever there was an x, we're going to replace that x with a set of parentheses. This x that's in parentheses, we have the parentheses. Now I want you to go ahead, solve this, plugging only in this piece into the calculator. The first time, type in negative 3. See what answer you get. Then plug in negative 1.5. See what answer you get. And so on. So I want you to complete that table there. All right? Okay, so let's go on now then to make sure that we've got example 2 good. So on example 2, now we have f of x is equal to negative 2x squared plus 1. All right, everywhere there's an x, we replace that x with a blank set of parentheses because we're going to replace that with some x value. Here I have negative 2 times x squared. The square is not with the x because it is not in the parentheses. So that means that the square, the exponent of 2, is outside of the parentheses, plus 1. Now on this one here, we're going to replace it with negative 2. We are going to type this into the calculator. Now, I'm not going to write the negative 2 here. I'm just going to know that I'm substituting in negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and type in this part of the equation into my calculator. Negative 2, parentheses, and inside the parenthesis, negative 2 close parenthesis. Now, to do the x squared, or do that little exponent of 2, we are going to click this button right on top of 9. It says x squared, and it puts up the 2 and the exponent like we need it. Then we've got plus 1. That provides us with -7. Now, this time, instead of plugging in -2, we're going to substitute in 0. So go ahead, delete the -2, and replace it with 0. And my answer is 1. The next example, delete 0 inside the parentheses and replace it with 3. And our solution is -17. So when we substitute in 3, our output is -17. Now let's go ahead and delete that 3 and substitute in 5. And our output will be -49. All right, so now you've got check your understanding too. I set up the expression for you, or the equation. So it's f of x is equal to the absolute value of 3 parentheses minus 2. 3 times parentheses minus 2, and then the absolute value bar again. Where is that absolute value bar? The key that you're going to be looking for on the calculator, if we're talking about that absolute value bar, it's going to look like this. All right, it's all the way over on the right side of the calculator, below the clear button, so look over in that area. Again, when you're done typing it in, you're also going to push that button here at the end. Okay? Those are absolute value bars. Absolute value means whatever number's inside always comes out as a positive. All right? Go ahead and fill in this table. And then I am going to get ready to go on to example number 3. Now, example number 3. A shipping company charges $20 fee and an additional $5 for each package shipped. The total cost, C, for shipping P packages can be modeled by the function C of P equals 20 plus 5P, where P is the number of packages. You are looking to send out 10 packages to customers. Evaluate the function C of P for P to find the total cost of shipping the packages. So what in the world does C of P mean? C of P is cost of packages. So what's the total cost of the packages? So we have the equation already. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that equation, and everywhere there's a P, I'm going to replace it with parentheses. Anywhere there's a P, replace it with parentheses. I didn't change anything else on the equation. Everything else is still there. So now they tell me to find it when P equals 10. So wherever there was a P, or inside those parentheses, I'm going to put 10. So we have, what is the cost when you mail out 10 packages? So plug in 20 plus 5 times 10 into your calculator. 20 plus 5 parentheses, 10, close parentheses, and that is 70. So what does that mean? That it costs $70 to send out 10 packages. $70 to send 10 packages. All right, so number 3, I've already helped you out with the equation there, so I want you to check your understanding number 3 and see if you can come out with the solution for that one. And that is it. Now, your homework is on Canvas. So if I go back to Canvas and I go back to our modules, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, 2.1 independent practice, Right here, if you click on that one, it's going to show you the 4 questions for the independent practice, and this is due in class.